This is Hashtag History, episode 81. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah. And as our regular listeners know, I have the pleasure, nay the privilege, of taking over the first episode of every season, which is what I'm doing for today's episode. Episode 81, season 9. 9, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Can you believe it?
No, I cannot. But you know what I was just saying right before we started recording is like, I think any other podcasters out there get this, that it's, I mean, a lot of work goes into this. So those breaks are super needed.
Yeah.
But like the second we started recording, I was like, oh, I'm happy to be here again.
I know.
Yeah. So, no, I can't believe we're on season 9, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Happy to be here, guys.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Do you want to tell our listeners what we've been up to over the break?
Our day jobs.
Yeah. Yes.
Working very hard at our day jobs.
Yeah, that's mostly it.
Yeah.
I think we've been on a couple, we've guested.
We have. We got to be on Mimosa Sisterhood, which was super fun.
Yeah.
And we are on 2 other podcasts that I believe that their episodes are coming out after this one. So I won't blast
Spoil
them
it.
yet. I won't spoil it, but we will definitely be sharing about it on Instagram. So yeah, we always have so much fun guesting on other podcasts. And just make sure you're following us on Instagram so you can see all those announcements.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. This week's episode is about Andree de Jongh, a member of the Belgian Resistance during World War II. She organized and led the Comet Line, or le Réseau Comète, as it is or was called by its French-speaking members, to assist Allied soldiers and airmen to escape from Nazi-occupied Belgium.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. Between August 1941 and December of 1942, she escorted an estimated 118 people, including more than 80 airmen from Belgium, to neutral, and I'm using air quotes here, neutral Spain, where they were transported back to the UK.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So
I love this time period in history, and obviously both of us love women's history.
Yeah.
So
this is a really cool story that I learned while researching.
I love that.
Yeah. So before we learn more about this amazing woman and the Comet Line, I believe Rachel prepared a cocktail for us.
I did indeed. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History,
the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike,
where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
So we, of course, have to start this cocktail segment with a huge thank you to our dear friend and brilliant historian, Alicia Gutierrez-Romine, who sponsored several cocktails for us. So thank you so much for your support and your cocktail money.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that. If you are also interested in sponsoring a cocktail and getting a shout out on the show, you can head to the link in our bio on Instagram or on our website under the Please Support Us tab. It's called Support Us, but maybe we should add Please. Please support us and just follow the link there to buy us a cocktail. This money goes directly to helping us fund the podcast, and it really means so much to us. Okay, on to the cocktail.
Okay.
As I know next to nothing, and by next to nothing, I mean nothing, literally nothing, about this woman in history that we will be discussing, with the exception of the fact that she was part of the Belgian Resistance. And I know that because I had to do a quick Google search, of course.
Yes.
I figured that we had to have a Belgian cocktail.
Yes.
This week, we are having a spin-off of a classic French 75 cocktail by having the Belgian 75 cocktail. The difference between the French 75 and the Belgian 75 is that in a French 75, you have champagne. Belgian 75, you have beer.
Oh, yeah.
So this cocktail contains gin, lemon juice, simple syrup, and then you top it off with beer. So you shake those, combine and shake the first 3 ingredients together with ice, strain it in a glass, and then top it with beer. So now, of course, my original intent was to select a Belgian beer, or Belgian style beer.
Yeah.
At the very least, what I could have done was select a beer that had like lemon notes in it, since we have so much lemon juice in the drink.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
No.
I didn't do that at all. But I have a good reasoning for it.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of really, really great local breweries out here. One such brewery, it's called Tilted Mash, that Alex and I go to all the time. You and I have gone together before.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's awesome, and they have excellent beers. So right now they are doing a series of beers that are inspired by candy. So they have a Skittles one, a Runts beer, and then they also have a Sour Patch Kids beer. And I mean, like, how could I resist?
Yeah.
So this could be a disaster.
I don't think it will be. I mean, what? Unless it like clashes with the gin.
Which it could.
Yeah, I guess it could.
Which it could. But at least if the cocktail sucks, we also have this delicious sour beer to cleanse our palates with.
Yes.
Because I bought enough for leftovers.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Cheersies.
Cheersies. I'm so excited.
Me too.
One good thing to note, too, is that Belgian beers are very fruit-forward, most of them.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know Sour Patch.
Sour Patch is fruit-forward.
Fruit-forward. Let's do this.
Cheers.
Oh, no, it's good.
It's great. I love Sacramento in the fall. Look at the leaves coming down. Like, they're just falling down.
And now we have to rake them up. So.
Yeah, sorry about that part. But it's beautiful watching them fall. Okay.
Rating.
Oh.
Honestly, mine's like a 9.
Probably mine too.
There's nothing I dislike about it.
There's gin in it, and you can taste the gin, but only the floralness of the gin, not the parts of gin that I don't like.
What's the parts of gin you don't like?
I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I wasn't going to have an answer. I don't know the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know,
I
don't mind
all the other bits.
All the other parts of it I don't like, but I don't mind the like, ooh, floral. Okay. I don't mind that because we've had other floral
That's interesting
liqueurs.
Because most people, the thing they don't like about gin is the floral notes.
I assume that's not what I dislike because I like this drink, and we've also had other floral things, and I've liked them. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't have an answer other than this is delicious.
It's delicious.
My rating's also a 9.
Yeah. Highly recommend doing it with a sour, too. Mm-hmm. A sour beer.
It's certainly not a traditional Belgian 75.
No.
But do we ever follow the cocktail rules?
Sorry, that's a hard no.
That's a no.
That's a really intensely hard no.
But I'm going to say that we did it better.
Yeah, I would argue that as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, certainly my pleasure.
I'm going to be burping throughout this episode, though.
Yeah, very carbonated.
Yeah, I like it, though. Okay, I have to give my own little introduction to the subject before we dive in. Like, how did I find it? If it's something that neither of us are very familiar with. Mm-hmm. As we have discussed many times before, we are part of a book club. Yeah. And have been for a number of years now. It's been like 4+ years, 5 years.
This is making me nervous.
I know. No, don't be nervous. Well, during the early days of the book club, we read a fictional novel. I don't know if you remember it. It was called The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Was that one you didn't read?
I didn't read it.
Oh, no. That's why it doesn't sound familiar to you.
I remember what the cover looked like. Yeah. Okay. I'm is my face red? Because I feel warm.
You're getting warm.
With our book club, we're all grown adults with full-time jobs, right? With other commitments and whatnot. So we always give each other a pass. Like, not everyone is going to jive with every single book. So generally, like 1 to 2 books a year, you get a pass.
Yes.
Like, you get a pretty generous pass. Like, not even, you can literally say, like, I could not get into this book.
Yep.
All right. That was your 1 to 2 passes this year.
Yep. And I use them every year.
And this was my pass. Yeah. Yeah. I remember the book. I remember.
Did you start reading it and not like it? Or did you just not have time? Like, do you remember? It was a long time ago.
No, what I do remember, I remember that the genre, am I correct in thinking it was like a historical romance?
There were some aspects of romance, but I would call it more like historical fiction.
Okay. Well, then I don't have an excuse. I think I remember thinking that it was more of a romance novel. And as much as, I mean, I love a good romance. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time getting into like romance novels.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I did this book dirty and just wrote it off too early.
It was, by no means was it like the best book I've ever written, but it was based.
Written.
It
wow.
was, yeah.
You said best book you've ever written.
Read. The best book I've ever read. But it was apparently based on the woman we're talking about today, which I found that out later, and I thought that was so cool. I'm like, oh, this is, it's fiction, but it was like based on the life and the story of this woman.
Awesome.
So
now I feel extra bad about not reading it. I do still have it.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Now the book took a lot of liberties from the story I'm about to tell you, but I did have to give it a little shout out because it is the reason I even heard about Andree to begin with.
Awesome.
Okay. There isn't a ton known about de Jongh's early life. She was born Andree Eugenie de Jongh, and forgive me for stumbling over many of the names in this. And it's French because Belgium, like half of the population speaks French and the other half speaks Dutch, I think. But yeah. It's going to be
slurring comes later.
It's going to be a rough one.
Okay.
So anyway, she was born on November 30th, 1916 in Schaerbeek, Belgium, which was at the time under German occupation during World War I.
Okay.
She was the youngest daughter of Frédéric de Jongh, who was the headmaster of a primary school, and Alice de Carpentry. You gotta love when people's last names literally spell out what their ancestors used to do.
De Blacksmith.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, as a child, her heroine and idol was Edith Cavell, a British nurse who was shot in the Tir Nationale in Andree's hometown for aiding troops in escaping from occupied Belgium to the then neutral Netherlands. So she, as we will find out, literally followed step for step in her hero's footsteps.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I love when, as a young girl, someone that you look up to, someone that's your hero, is such a badass woman in history like that.
Yeah. When de Jongh was in her early 20s, she trained as a nurse and was also a commercial artist on the side in Melmedy. I tried looking into more about this time period because I'm like super interested in like what artist she was. She was an artist.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anything. So
such is studying women's history.
Yeah. So her nursing endeavors were for sure a direct inspiration of Cavell. She went into that because of Cavell. By the time she was 23 years old, the Germans had once again invaded and occupied Belgium. Bummer, right?
Well, I just think what a lifetime to like that you experienced that twice in a 2-decade lifetime.
I know.
Wow.
And as you can imagine, many Belgians were resisting in one way or another against the rule of the Nazis. Around this time, de Jongh was described by a British airman as a frail, and this is a direct quote, frail young girl who appears to be only 20 years old, very pretty, pleasant, kind, cheerful, and simple. She seems to have the carelessness of a young student who would go on vacation after passing her exams.
What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a compliment.
Okay.
For the time.
Because, I mean, like, we like a good vacation after we've worked our asses off.
Yeah, like, I feel like at the time that probably would have been like a compliment of like, a carefree, cute, sweet girl.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
But like now that's insulting as
Now it's like, I deserved this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, I did find a photo I'd like us to look at. It's the earliest photo of her, and it's actually one of the most common and popular photos I could find.
Okay.
And it was probably taken around the time of World War II, just so we can get a glimpse of what she looked like.
She is really beautiful. It's kind of a striking picture. She's very fair. I'm going to assume light colored eyes. It's a black and white photo.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
But they look, light. She is really pretty.
And it's probably, especially for the time, I would think, very pretty. So I think this gives a pretty good idea also of just how young she was. Like, she's a young girl.
Yeah, and you can tell she's young and she's small.
Yeah. So when I was 23, I was not in the same headspace as this gal.
Certainly not.
Let's just put it that way. As you will see, she goes on to like do some pretty badass things, and no.
Yeah, when I say certainly not, I'm not referring to you. I'm
no.
Very much reflecting upon myself. Yeah, certainly not.
But it was her small 100-pound frame and carefree persona that disarmed both the airmen she would go on to help escape Belgium, but also the Germans as well. As a New York Times article perfectly put it, her implausibility was what made her formidable.
Okay.
I love that.
Me too. That should be a tattoo, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that. So after the Germans invaded Belgium in May of 1940, de Jongh moved to Brussels to become a Red Cross volunteer, nursing the wounded Allied soldiers who found themselves in hiding there. But de Jongh quickly grew restless in her role as a nurse and wanted to do more. According to the author Derek Schiff, whose 2003 book Evader chronicled a British airman Jack Newton's journey out of Belgium, de Jongh found her life at this time to be, quote, tedious. She was quoted to say, I was very impatient to do something. A woman couldn't carry a gun or jump out of a bomber jet or go into combat, but they could, quote, walk unnoticed, striding down a street in a wool coat and sensible shoes, as if on her way to the market or a typist's job, trailed quietly by 2 or 3 wayward soldiers in disguise.
Oof. I love that she's using the stereotypes to her advantage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She used them fully to her advantage.
Wow.
During her time nursing in Brussels, she became aware of a multitude of British and Allied soldiers, mostly left behind after Dunkirk or escapees from the German-occupied cities and German war prisons, who needed assistance in hiding. De Jongh took part in organizing a series of safe houses for these soldiers, while also procuring them civilian clothing, false ID papers, and other supplies that they needed while they were hiding. But this was only temporary. In meeting with all of the safe house keepers and soldiers, one thing became abundantly clear to De Jongh. The soldiers in hiding had no means of escape and desperately needed a way back to Britain. De Jongh became obsessed with the idea of aiding them in their escape.
Oh, can't wait.
Many later asked, what motivated her to take such a huge risk. And in a BBC interview, she said, "My father told me Belgium had given in to the Germans. I had never seen him cry before. Never. I was in despair and furious, enraged at the same time. I said to my father, you'll see what we'll do to them. You'll see they are going to lose this war. They've started it, but they'll lose it." So I think there was a lot of anger, obviously there, and resentment, and a lot of underdog syndrome. You already kind of talked, and we hinted at this earlier. People really, not just because she was small and young, but she's a woman, and people really underestimated her. And I think she kind of felt like she had something to prove. Yep.
And I do think too, just you reading off that quote too, when you see your dad cry, and you rarely see your dad cry, it does those are the timestamps in your throughout your life, right? Yep, I remember my dad cried because of this. Yeah, he cried over this. Those are moving experiences. I think for most people. For sure. So maybe that was part of her motivation too. She saw how upset her dad was, and that really motivated her.
In the spring of 1941, De Jongh, along with 2 friends, Andree de Jongh and Arnold Deppe, organized a very wide-reaching group, initially self-named the DDDs after their last names all starting with D.
That's great.
To assist Allied soldiers and airmen in escaping occupied Belgium. So the DDDs were made up of volunteers, and I say volunteers lightly. Apparently, De Jongh and her very close friends who first started this kind of twisted people's arms into helping. It's
voluntold.
They really, really encouraged and I don't want to say strong-armed, but we're no, you're doing this.
Yeah, like that one time that my boss sent out an email to 400 people and said I was volunteer told.
Yep. You were voluntold in that instance.
I was
crying, literal tears, laughing so hard when you told me that.
And I was also crying, but not the laughing part. I digress.
Oh my gosh. So this group, it was made up of volunteers who would operate safe houses, provide food and clothes, and offer other services for what would eventually become what we now call the Comet Line, the largest of the escape and evasion lines in World War II.
Cool.
So de Jongh was sadly arrested in April of 1941 while plans for the Comet Line were still underway, and was later actually executed after the DDD's group was infiltrated by Prosper de Zitter, a Belgian collaborator with Nazi Germany. So the DDDs did become the double Ds, I guess.
There we go. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was before it even kind of really got off the ground. Oh. So this prompted Deppe to travel to southwestern France, where he had once lived, the following June, to look for a better route to smuggle out Allied soldiers. There, Deppe made contact with someone named Elvire de Greef, who offered to assist in the smuggling of soldiers out of France. De Greef eventually became known as Tante de Go, which translates from French to Auntie Go. And her home served as the main hub of the Comet Line in France.
Cool.
De Jongh and Deppe, with the assistance of de Greef and her family, attempted escorting their first group in crossing from Belgium into France and then eventually crossing the Spanish border in July of 1941. The group of Allied soldiers posed as 10 Belgians and were accompanied by a Belgian woman named Frédérique Dupuis, who was posing as an English woman called Miss Richards. This big group crossed the Pyrenees Mountains on the Franco-Spanish border. De Jongh and her team did not participate personally in this first mission. They stayed in Belgium, I think.
Okay.
So some sources said otherwise, but yeah, I think they stayed in Belgium. Mm-hmm. And sadly, this group of 11 were arrested by Spanish police while making their crossing of the Pyrenees Mountains and eventually turned over to the Germans in France.
Oof.
From this experience, De Jongh realized that in their future exfiltrations of soldiers, they had to establish a relationship with the British consulate in Bilbao, Spain, to ensure that the people they escorted out of occupied Belgium and France were safely accepted into Spain. She also took this as her cue to put the person she trusted most in charge of escorting the groups to Spain, herself.
We are so excited to share with you all about Wild.
Wild is an art gallery that features artwork created by Native American artists. The gallery features all kinds of artwork, including posters, paintings, and prints.
And they have a really great filtering software on their website where you can filter exactly what kind of art you are interested in by artist, size, and tribe.
You can also filter by price point, and you'll find that they have beautiful artwork that fits all budgets. And this is a great time to check them out as we come up on the holidays. Art can be such a unique and special gift.
Wild is located in Austin, Texas, and they ship art from their online store nationwide. So if you order a piece of art from their website, they can ship it to you anywhere in the States.
So go check them out now at www.wild.gallery. That is wild spelled W-Y-L-D, W-Y-L-D.gallery.
I think for all of our fellow history nerds out there, one really fascinating aspect of history is
where the hell did certain phrases or words come from?
Right. Like, what are the origins of sticks and stones?
Or why do we say on the mend or moving the needle?
Exactly. If you would like to learn exactly why we need to mind our P's and Q's in a fun 30 minutes or less segment, you should check out the Why Do We Say That podcast.
Every Tuesday, father and son, Scott and Liam Kelly, explain the meaning behind everyday phrases.
And then at the end of each episode, they play a game of Word or Not a Word, where they bring on guest contestants and have them guess whether a word actually is a word or not.
You can find Why Do We Say That anywhere podcasts are found. So go check them out.
Hey, great minds think alike.
I wonder where that phrase came from. In August of 1941, Depe and De Jongh made a second attempt at escorting another group of soldiers out of Belgium. This time, they split up. De Jongh took a longer, more rural and safer route, mostly by train, accompanied by 2 Belgian volunteers, and then only 1 British soldier was with her. His name was James Cromar from Aberdeen, if anyone's interested. Depe, who's her partner, on the other hand, took a shorter, more direct route, accompanied by 6 men, and was very sadly betrayed by an informer while en route.
Oh.
His party was arrested by Germans while en route to the De Grief house in southern France and remained imprisoned for the remainder of the war.
Oh.
De Jongh's group did arrive safely at the De Grief house, so that's again in southern France, and crossed into Spain with the guidance of a Basque smuggler, which was a smuggler who specialized in crossing what's known as the Basque country in the Pyrenees Mountains during World War II. Basque smugglers were actually like their main, they use them as their guides across the mountains every single time.
Okay.
Her and her 3 companions arrived in the British consulate in Bilbao, Spain, but were initially met with skepticism. They found it hard to believe that a young woman could escort 3 dudes from German-occupied Belgium through occupied France, over the Pyrenees, and into Spain.
Yeah, well, naturally.
Yeah.
She is a woman.
And it is also, like, in itself pretty impressive. Like,
certainly.
It was a beeline of approximately 500 miles, but even further due to the roundabout route they took.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's impressive regardless.
Yeah. But de Jongh promised to continue to exfiltrate additional British soldiers if the British would pay for the expenses. These expenses would equate to the equivalent of roughly $2,000 per soldier in current US dollars. So after 3 weeks of contemplation and indecision, the British authorities in Spain and England finally agreed to her terms, understanding that the publicity of escaped soldiers would boost morale.
Yeah, $2,000 is worth it.
Yeah. Despite this aid, de Jongh turned down any offers of advice from British authorities or suggestions on how to run the Comet Line and kept the direction and control internal. I guess, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But also, according to de Jongh, the offers of guidance and assistance by the British were, quote, given by people who were not aware of the situation, did not understand the spirit that drove the team, nor the situation under which the work was being done.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us can relate to, in a much less stressful sense. We see that all the time with, like, in our workplaces, right? Where it's like the people that make the decisions, and not always, you know, in a malice way at all, but like the people at the top that make the decisions don't do the work of the layman.
Yeah.
You don't know the day-to-day. You don't know the ins and outs.
And that was another thing that was so cool about her, despite her being like the leader of this Comet Line, right? The person that came up with the idea and really started it. She always insisted on being like in the trenches.
That's
like,
cool.
She was always there on the front lines, if
Very
you will.
cool.
British intelligence would begin calling de Jongh the postman.
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 The postman.
Hey, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
I felt like that was coming.
Depé's capture caused de Jongh to reevaluate their tactics once again for smuggling out soldiers. She eventually decided that Belgium was no longer a safe place to operate out of and ended up moving to Paris and Valenciennes, a French city bordering Belgium. She left her father, Fernand, to take over some of her leadership duties in Belgium while she worked out of France. So I guess things weren't quite as bad in France yet, but Belgium was like fully occupied. Here de Jongh would receive airmen from Brussels, distribute them to safe houses, and then eventually escort them personally by rail to Bayonne or nearby cities near the Spanish border. She often trekked with them across the Pyrenees Mountains and into Spain. Once crossing the border, she turned her charges over to the British consulate, who would drive them to Gibraltar, where they would be flown back to England. To get a better idea of the route they were taking, because like I'm just throwing a lot of cities and names of towns at you, I thought we could take a look at this map I found of multiple escape lines running at this time, and then focus on the Comet Line.
Okay. Lots of routes, lots of arrows, lots of lines.
If you look at this map, there's, like she said, lots of different routes. There's like blue arrows, which was part of the Pat line, which was a different smuggling line.
Okay.
There was a brown line that was called something else, Shelbourne line. And then the Comet Line is the red line.
Okay.
So you can see this was the route.
Certainly traveling the furthest.
Yeah. This is the route that they ended up taking most regularly. You could see it starts in Brussels, it goes down into Paris, and then it goes down into southern France.
Yes.
And then from there, that's where the Pyrenees Mountains are, and they cross the mountains into Spain.
Oh, wow.
And so the consulate that we keep referencing is just over the border in Spain, in like northern Spain. And then from there, they get driven through Madrid and to Gibraltar, where they're then flown or sailed back to England.
Okay. No, that was really helpful to look at a map.
Yeah. Otherwise, I know I was a little lost. So while her charges proceeded back to England, de Jongh would meet with a British diplomat named Michael Cresswell very often and pick up the money and messages to take back to France. And then she just turned around, headed back to Paris, and on her way back, reinforced and paid her system of safe houses along the route as necessary. But it should be noted that most did not accept compensation for their expenses. Yeah. Most just paid out of pocket.
That warms my heart.
Yeah. I want to give you an idea of how often she was personally going on these trips with the soldiers.
Yeah, like you said, being quote unquote in the trenches.
Yeah. I wanted to outline the tail end of de Jongh's 1941 calendar for you.
Oh god.
Let's review this calendar together, shall we?
Let's review her date book.
Yes. In October 1941, she went on a trip escorting 3 airmen from Belgium to Spain.
Very impressive.
The next month, November 1941, she did the same thing. 3 airmen from Belgium to Spain. December of 1941, she escorted 11 men in 2 separate groups, again, from Belgium to Spain.
Okay, she busy AF.
Yeah. This level of activity continued through 1942.
Wow.
And again, it is estimated that de Jongh went on anywhere from 16 to 30 round trips to Spain between 1941 and 1942 and escorted an estimated 118 soldiers personally.
Wow. That's very, very cool.
Yeah. After November of 1942, the Comet Line became almost impossibly risky when the Germans invaded France and officially occupied it.
Mm-hmm.
Members of the Comet Line were more increasingly betrayed and turned over to the Nazis. Hundreds would end up being arrested and were imprisoned, deported to concentration camps, or even executed for their involvement, including, sadly, de Jongh's father, who was heavily involved in the Belgian portion of the Comet Line.
Mm. And obviously, her father means a lot to her. Like, when she was interviewed later by BBC, a lot of her motivation came from seeing her dad cry.
Yeah.
So I just assume that her dad means a lot to her. He was involved in this movement with her, put his life on the line just as she did.
Yeah. She also had a sister who was involved in the line. And I don't know if this was while she was still making the trips, but her sister also got taken to a concentration camp, I believe.
Oh, God.
So despite these increasing dangers, de Jongh continued, and in January of 1943, she began what would end up being her last voyage, leading 3 British airmen south by train from Paris to Saint-Jean-de-Luz. From here, they walked to the nearby village of Euron in French Basque Country, so that's right on the French and Spain border. And then they encountered a flooded river and had to stay overnight in a safe house of this one I knew I was going to have trouble with. Francia Yusan de Zanga before attempting to cross into Spain. The next morning, on January 15th, 1943, de Jongh, her 3 charges, and Yusan de Zanga were arrested by German soldiers, likely betrayed by a local farm worker.
Oh.
De Jongh was sent to Plenay prison in Paris, where she was interrogated, they say, upwards of 20 times.
Oh my God.
About her involvement in the Comet Line. Apparently, at some point during these interrogations, she came clean and admitted the whole thing was her idea and her design. But once again, she was underestimated.
Before you even said that, I felt like that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like she admits to it and they're like, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Nazis did not believe a woman, let alone a young, skinny, small one at that, could possibly undertake such an operation. But luckily, in this instance, their underestimation of her probably is what saved her life.
Gotta love stereotypes.
Yeah. Instead of being instantly killed for running such a mission, as most men in her position would have been, she was transferred to Ravensbrück concentration camp in Germany. Despite the tragedy of de Jongh's capture, the Comet Line continued to function and would go on to aid in the escape of over 700 Allied soldiers.
Oh my God.
Eventually, aiding in their escape became too risky, so in 1944, I only found this in one source, but it says they switched gears and instead began escorting stranded soldiers to various established forest camps.
Okay.
Where they would remain until the front moved past them, and then the Allies were able to assist them directly in getting home.
Mm-hmm.
De Jongh did end up surviving the concentration camps, but became ill and undernourished by the time she was released in April of 1945. There's multiple stories that once the Nazis realized she was probably the leader of the Comet Line after dismissing her and sending her to the camp, they went to go find her at Ravensbrück, but she apparently was so malnourished, pale, and sickly, like the rest of the prisoners there, that she was actually able to evade them by blending in, and they just couldn't find her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
No, that's awful.
So when the war was over, she was released from the camp, and she eventually finished her nursing studies.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She was given many honors, which we'll go into in just a second. But she had very little interest in them and instead worked in a leprosarium and multiple other hospitals in the Congo, Cameroon, Senegal, and Ethiopia. When asked why she was working in Africa and in leprosariums, she responded, because from the age of 15, I wanted to cure lepers. If I had delayed any longer, it would have been too late.
Oh my God, she's giving me goosebumps.
I know. She's just like so strong-willed and
yes. Like this is what I want to do. I'm going to make it happen.
Yep.
And everything that she wants to do is in service of others.
Yeah. And she wasn't wrong because shortly after this, she was actually forced to return to Belgium due to poor health. I don't know what those poor health issues were.
Wonder if they were lingering from her time
Maybe.
in the concentration camp.
Yeah. So she stayed in Belgium until she died in October of 2007 at the age of 90.
Was not expecting that.
I know. I didn't know that, and I was like, motherfucker, I wish I had known about her when she was still alive.
Oh, okay. I have lots of goosebumps.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
age 90.
Yeah. Her honors and awards are numerous, as I mentioned, and as I'm sure you can imagine. Even if she didn't want the recognition, she received a U.S. Medal of Freedom, a British George Medal, which is, I guess, kind of similar to our Medal of Freedom, a Chevalier of French Légion d'Honneur, or Legion of Honor, which is the highest French order of merit, Chevalier of the Order of Leopold, which is a Belgian order of knighthood, Belgian Croix de Guerre, or Cross of War, and granted honorary rank of lieutenant colonel in the Belgian army. And she was made a Belgian countess in 1985.
I feel a little emotional.
Yeah. I said earlier that I think a lot of the motivation for de Jongh came from a place of anger, and, well, I'll prove you all wrong.
Yeah.
This may have stemmed from being constantly underestimated for being a woman or being small or just kind, but also probably from the leftover resentment her family and the Belgian people felt after World War I towards the Germans. But in reading many of her quotes and interviews, it is also clear to me that de Jongh and her Comet Line supporters, for them it was also about a sense of duty and like pure admiration for the British soldiers they assisted. De Jongh once said, this is a direct quote, "The airmen feel they can't thank us enough, but we say if it wasn't for the English, we might be German now. It's only them that didn't bow."
Okay, she just gave me goosebumps all the way up to the end.
Yeah.
That was so great. I'm so glad that I learned about her.
Yeah. I love her.
I do too, and I think it goes back to what I said, that like there are women in history, and this isn't to slight them at all, but women in history that I admire so much because they went for what they wanted to go for and they became who they wanted to become and achieved all these things that were amazing things, but not necessarily always in service to others, right?
Yeah.
Like she wanted to become this high position because she wanted to, and she wanted to have the title and the responsibility, but every single thing that this woman did was in service of others.
And it wasn't just in service of others, it was like risking her life for others.
Always, even, all that she did during the World War, but also even after that with like helping with, leprosy and stuff.
Yeah.
Like even that, you're risking your life every single day.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I'm so glad that I learned about her, and maybe I'll read that book now.
Okay.
Maybe I will.
I'm glad I changed your mind on that. Even just
4
to
years
consider
later.
it.
I'm sure our book club will be happy. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of #History.
We will share the pictures that we discussed on this episode to our Instagram, and all sources used to put together this episode can be found on our website at #history-pod.com.
Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use. Share about us with your family and friends. And then we would love it so much if you gave us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts. That would literally mean the world. Thank you.
Be sure also to check us out on our socials.
Yes.
You can find us on Instagram at #history_podcast and on TikTok at #history. I say that with such shame.
Yeah. And on
TikTok.
And we would love it so much if you came over and joined us on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply. You get access to behind-the-scenes content. We do weekly #hangout episodes, and we mail you cards and stickers.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
2, 1. Yeah, boy. All right.
Oh my God.
How would you know? How would you know?
How would I know?
How would they know?
How would they know? I was gonna start talking again. You work for me for Disneyland.
Not anymore. Like you probably know your way around.
Nah.
No,
I know where the Dole Whip is.
Important, very
Yeah.
important. Okay, where's my mouse? Have you? Hello. There.
Click?
There she is. Okay.
There she is.
What? You
I
look like
made
you're
that
about
face
to
because
think.
I was waiting. I expected you to say Comet Line.
Oh.
And I was originally going to try to find, this is a side note, not on the podcast, going to find a Comet-like cocktail. And all that kept coming up was that Haley Bop Comet one that you already did. That was like the only. And now I'm glad that I didn't do that because I would have said Comet. Yeah, I'm very glad. There's a reason for everything. I'm very glad I didn't choose a Comet cocktail.
Yeah, same.
Same. For you, same.
Yeah.
No me queda más. The whole time.
Yeah.
All right, well, so.